Hi, I'm Sue Stockdale, and welcome to episode 133 of the Access to Inspiration podcast. If you're a regular listener, you will know that we love to feature guests from different countries so that you have an appreciation of how alike people are, no matter where they live and work. Today's guest has a particular resonance with this idea. Shoko Doherty is originally from Japan, and after watching a film was inspired to come to Wales to study music, and she never left. Shoko is now CEO of Celtic English Academy, where they try to create learning experiences for their students in a multicultural environment. We discuss some of the cultural differences that she experienced when first arriving in Wales and what Shoko does as a leader to create a positive environment for both students and staff. Remember, you can get a transcription of this episode as you listen along at our website accesstoinspiration.org. Welcome to the podcast, Shoko. It's lovely to speak to you today.
Thank you so much for having me, Sue.
Now, I know that you live and work in Wales and have done so for many years, but you're from Japan originally, I understand.
Yeah, that's right. So I moved to Wales 20 years ago from Japan.
So given that you've been over 2 decades in Wales, Shoko, what did you see as the cultural differences arriving in Wales that were quite different from being in Japan?
So I was raised by ordinary Japanese parents who were both teachers. I don't think they ever expected none of their children live or travel abroad. So I was brought up in a very traditional way. And compared to the life in UK, I think sense of being part of society, being respectful to others, especially seniors, is very strong in Japan. So coming to Wales, yes, there are definitely respect, but I don't need to use very different type of language when I speak to somebody older than me or senior in a workplace. It was quite big shock to me when I moved. So I studied music in a music conservatoire in Cardiff. And when I met my teacher, I used to call Dr. Childs and Dr. Price. And when I walked by their side, I used to walk one step behind. And after a week or so, I remember my teacher said, Shoko, I understand you're from Japan and thank you for being very respectful, but can you just call me Kevin or Bob and stop calling me Doctor something? I remember Bob said, can you just walk next to me rather than behind me? So that sort of a small thing was a big shock, and it took a while for me to adapt. And I think being Japanese, we used to say sorry and excuse me quite a lot. And so when I learned to speak in English, I guess I was still using sense of Japanese language in a way, translating from Japanese to English. So I used to apologize quite a lot. I didn't know how to take the compliments that I receive, because in Japanese culture, if you've been told nice thing, you still have to say, oh, no, I'm not very good at X, Y, Z. But then if I say that in English, people look at you like, why you not just say thank you? So that sort of thing. Yeah, I had to culturally adapt.
So you introduced there talking about music. Why did you choose Wales to study music?
I didn't know anything about Wales. Since I watched the film Brassed Off when I was 13, I set my dream of studying brass band in the UK. So when I was 18, I traveled to the UK and joined a brass band summer program in Bromsgrove for a week. That's where I met my teachers, David and Bob. I asked them, where can I study with them? And they said, just come to Cardiff. So that was it. I didn't know anything about Wales or Cardiff, and internet back then wasn't so developed. So all I could find about Wales was the information I could get from British Council office in Osaka and travel guidebook. And the information on travel guidebook was just one page covering whole Wales. So before I traveled here, I thought I was going to stay somewhere remote countryside with a lot of sheep. And genuinely. So when I landed Cardiff Airport, I was genuinely surprised. I mean, Cardiff Airport is in a remote place, I guess. But, as soon as you arrive to Cardiff city centre, there's a big stadium and castle and shopping centre. And there are people generally walking. So I was like, okay, that's not what I expected, but that's great. And people in Wales are really friendly. So I instantly fell in love with the city. And I've been staying here ever since.
So it's amazing what watching a film can do and can inspire you to take action and travel halfway around the world to study the music that you've been listening to in the film. At that point, did you understand English well when you came to Wales?
No, not at all. So I was, in fact, one of the first students to study English at Celtic English Academy. I guess not just myself or in Japan, but often languages are taught as a subject in a school instead of as a communication tool. So although I studied English for 6 years before moving to Wales, I had almost no English whatsoever. So I had to study English first for 6 months before starting my degree at Royal Welsh College of Music and Drama.
And how did you find that transition?
It was really difficult. Being Japanese, making mistakes in front of somebody is taught as a quite big embarrassment. So initially, even if I understood what the other person was saying, I was really afraid of saying something wrong. So that mindset change, just actually making mistake is way to learn, was something I had to learn first. So the mindset change was the first step. I was already trained as a young musician. My hearing was quite good. And being brass player, you always have to be mindful of the movement of mouth and how you use breath and tongue really helped me to be more aware of my pronunciation. So I quickly grasped English language as well as I could, I guess, to start my degree.
So now, of course, Shoko, you find yourself as CEO of Celtic English Academy. How did that happen?
So when I started my degree, I was looking for a part-time job. So initially I was working as a glass collector in a pub, which was really fun job. But when I was going back to Japan for just over Christmas, marketing director at the time, who is now my husband, asked me, can you take some brochures to Japan to see if you can find some agent? So then we can start recruiting some Japanese students. I was really naive, 20 years old. And I said to James, yeah, well, why not? I will try. But then I had no work experience whatsoever in Japan. So I think I did quite a terrible job promoting Celtic. So I managed to convince some agent to start sending us students. And that's how I started working for Celtic English Academy. So during my degree, I worked as a part-time staff. Then over the years, I changed my role, basically moved up from student services officer, marketing manager. And then 8 years ago, I was promoted as the CEO.
The one thing I already get a sense of, Shoko, from what you have said, is that your own experience of learning about another culture in another country, learning the English language in order to be able to communicate, has been such an important part of your career growth and your life journey. My sense is that perhaps there's an element of wanting to give that back to enable others to have a similar experience. Do I read that correctly?
Yes, definitely. One of the reasons I love working in our school and our sector is I say that language school is like a microcosm of the world where people from different countries and background meet and learn together. Even in a university, I don't think you will find the place like language school where so many different cultures and languages and different background come together to learn together. And I think language is one thing, but also bridge that cultural differences is huge. And I think that's what our students love. And that's certainly our staff love. So for example, probably about 10 years ago now, there was a terrorist attack in France. That was Islamic extremists basically attacked local French people. And it was really, really sad. And there was one French student studied with us, was crying in a student lounge. And I remember students from Middle East, like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, they all hugged the student and they were all crying together. And I remember that French girl came to me on her last day saying that if I didn't study English at the time, I would have hated all Muslim people. But because she knew that on a person-to-person level, they are normal people, nice people. So then she said, I was really thankful that experience of studying together with people from Muslim countries. So I think that's much more important. That I think you can't get that anywhere else. And I'm really proud that we do make differences in students' life every day.
I think that's such an important thing that you're describing then, that people are people. And if we get that personal experience of individuals from other countries, we can discern them from the country or the culture. Given that you already have mentioned about understanding culture, is just as important in a way as understanding language. What does your academy do to help people to learn about the Welsh culture?
We place students in both homestay accommodation and residence accommodation. So residence accommodation is self-catering student accommodation, which is really nice, very modern building. That's where different students from different countries stay together. But staying with host family give students opportunities to understand local people, local culture. So I think that's a really nice way to learn. We also organize a lot of cultural excursions and activities. So we take students to Cardiff Castle, Stadium, places like that. And we sometimes organize food festival. We call food festival, but basically we introduce different type of food, not just from Wales, but also different countries. We, of course, celebrate St. David's Day, teach a little bit of Welsh language, as well as cook Welsh cakes and different type of Welsh food like Welsh cowls, Welsh rabbit.
So you're giving the students a taste of the whole experience of being Welsh and what the Welsh culture is all about.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's something which students really love. A lot of people, unfortunately, outside of the UK, still think that the UK is England. So we really try to differentiate ourselves and promote Wales as a separate nation and try to promote that Wales is a great place to study and to travel to.
Well, being a Scot myself, Shoko, I completely understand your cultural reference there to the United Kingdom being more than England. I know you're a great advocate for diversity and equality as well. And how do you implement that within the academy?
Gender equality, inclusivity is really important for me, and also raise awareness of mental health. We have worked with an organisation called Corriteg. Corriteg means fair play in Welsh. Unfortunately, Corriteg closed down last year due to the end of EU funding. But working with Corriteg helped us to implement various different best practices in employment and supporting our employees. We have done a lot of workshop training, help both managers and all employees to adapt in a flexible work environment, and also trying to raise awareness of importance of mental health as well. Being brought up in Japan, where in fact gender gap ranking is 125th, that was another cultural shock to me when I moved to Wales. I think Wales is a much more open place and a fair place to live, which is a positive cultural shock for me. But I try to embrace that and try to do even more to make sure that our staff feel that they are well looked after.
And if you're enjoying this episode, you may also like to listen to episode 62, where Janine Canham talked about bringing humanity back to the workplace. You can listen to more than 100 episodes now, ranging from business and sports to the arts and social change. Just hop on over to accesstoinspiration.org to discover them all. Now back to our guest. So given that there's a great focus on supporting your staff, is part of your mission to also educate the students to help them to understand about diversity?
Yeah, definitely. So some of our course materials, we use the theme of United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So there are 17 goals, and one of them is gender equality. So we use some of the materials from UN SDGs as a part of a curriculum and course designs. And we also celebrate cultural diversity through event and workshop as well.
So where do your students tend to come from in the world then? Where are your most popular countries that you're recruiting students from?
We recruit students from over 50 countries, and the diversity of nationalities in the market are really important. There are several reasons for that. One is obviously when you have more nationalities, it helps our students to have a better experience studying English together. Secondly, when you have a diverse population, it will help us to spread seasonality. If we have a lot of European students only, then we will be very busy during the summer month, June to August, but then we become really quiet in the winter. In order for us to keep full-time permanent employment, we should have a good number of students throughout the year. So by recruiting students from, for example, Latin America, we would have more students from those markets between November to February. Or if we recruit students from Thailand or Vietnam, then I guess we will have more students from March, April. There are other markets who tend to send longer term students from Middle East, for example. So we try to spread the market. And by spreading the market, we will also reduce the risk because our sector is severely impacted by geopolitics. So if something happened, let's say while Russia and Ukraine crisis happened, so then number of students from those markets just completely dropped to zero. These things happen. I mean, Arab Spring affected us quite badly over 10 years ago. So spreading the market will help us to create better experience for our students, as well as spread seasonality, which help our day-to-day business running and also reduce the risk.
So there's a solid business decision there, as well as creating a great cultural experience for your students.
The top 5 nationalities is Italy, Saudi Arabia, Japan, Switzerland, and Kuwait, I would say. Possibly Brazil is coming up to top 5. Number of Brazilian students are going up nicely, which is really positive for us.
That sounds fantastic. So when you reflect back on where your career and how your career has developed, could you ever have imagined that you would be running an English Academy in Wales when you were a young girl in Japan?
No, definitely not. My sister often said to me, my life is so unpredictable. She is a proper planner, and I just kind of let my life to work out and see what happens. So yeah, I never expected to be the CEO of English Language School in Wales, nor becoming the chair of English UK, which is a national association of accredited language centres.
What does that role involve, being the chair of English UK?
English UK is a national association, so we offer training to our members, raise awareness of our sectors, both in the UK as well as abroad. I strongly believe that UK is the best place to study English. It's the birth country of English language, but we constantly face the challenges, either with the national politics or Brexit or geopolitics, as well as the competition against different markets like USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Ireland, Malta. So navigating those challenges with other members is really rewarding. And our sector is very friendly. And being education, we always want to help each other and we always look out for continuous improvement. So yeah, it's a exciting role and interesting to be part of it.
Thinking about that idea of education and learning, Shoko, how do you keep learning and growing and developing yourself? Because I imagine you need to be a role model for others around you.
I think a role model is a very big word. I love learning, and learning can be formal education as well as learn from peers or taking short courses or having mentor or coaches. So I try to pick and choose what is most needed for myself at the time. So sometimes I have coaching sessions. I recently finished course with Cardiff Metropolitan Universities on circular economy, which was really interesting to implement a lot of practices for our company to be more sustainable organization. I guess that's just a part of my nature, and that's something interests me. So I always look out for learning opportunities and try to learn from others. I think that's really something I try to be mindful all the time.
So looking outwards to learn from the people around you, learn from others in your sector, and learning from outside as well. Given that we are an inspiration podcast, I always like to ask guests, who or what inspires you?
Oh, my dad always told me that in order for me to develop myself, you always look out for somebody that I respect. And if you find somebody that you respect, then try to be as close as possible to that person and then learn from that person. So I approached somebody called Andrew Fisher, who is really well known in our sector. And I asked him a couple of years ago to be our non-executive director. Unfortunately, he said yes. So I feel very honored and privileged to have Andrew as a non-executive director, and I have a one-to-one session with him once a week. So that's, I would say, somebody in our sector that I respect, and I learn something from him on a weekly basis. The people that I've never met, but I love Michelle Obama. I think what she says, so many things as a leader, but also mother and woman. There's so many things that she inspires us. And whenever I feel down or feel like I need some kind of energy boost, either I look at her quotes or I love watching her carpool karaoke. Makes me laugh and just, uplift me and empower me.
You also are a mum, Shoko, to 3 children, I understand. In what way do you hope you're inspiring your children?
I guess my parents always showed me the importance of working hard working ethic. And I'd like our children to learn from me, not necessarily me telling them to work hard. I just would like to show that I work hard and hopefully they will learn from it. And also never burn bridge. That's something my husband always told me. Even if you were let down or perhaps you had a bad experience with specific person or even bullied in a school, for example, never burn a bridge. And that's something we actually tell our kids. I think as long as you're being nice to the other person and also keep the strong ethic standard, then I think one day something might come back positively to you. So yeah, I would say those things I'd like kids to learn.
Given that you have those things that are important for how you shape the learning for your children, I also wonder how you measure your own success. Because one way, of course, is to measure the profitability of a business, but I also suspect there are other ways that you measure your own success.
Yeah, so as a running commercial entity, profitability is certainly important, but the impact that we make to our student, our staff, and wider community, either local or global community, is huge. So the proudest moment that I ever felt was when we did this annual staff survey. 91% of our staff answered that they can be true to themselves and also feel comfortable to open up their mental health challenges if they come across. So we create a really safe space for our staff. And I strongly believe that if you treat your staff well, then they will treat our customers well. So it's really difficult to measure that sometimes, those impact, but I believe that we are making those positive impact, either small or big. And that sense of achievement and the sense of positive impact that we create is really important.
And do you ever get any feedback from people who have been students in the past about the experience that they've had and how that's shaped their lives?
Yeah, so we always seek feedback during the program and at the end of course. We also have, do you know Slack?
Yes.
We have a Slack channel called Staff Shoutout. So our staff regularly post any positive feedback that we received from our students or agent, as well as we praise each other. So yeah, we create a very positive work environment and we get a lot of praises from our students and agents.
That sounds wonderful. So finally, just taking us right back to the start where you began with an interest in music, I'm wondering whether there's anything that you learned from the experience of playing music and studying music that you take with you into your work.
Yeah, definitely. Being a musician is like being like an athlete. It's not so elegant behind the scene, unfortunately. So music requires high level of discipline, practice, long hours of practice and ability to work collaboratively with others. So, like I said, we need to practice long hours, often on our own, as well as be creative and strive for continuous improvement. So these skills are directly transferable to running a business. And the patience and attention to detail I developed through music have developed, I guess, invaluable skills in strategic planning or decision making. And also during my degree, I was fortunate to be part of top champion section brass band in Wales. So being part of that band and seeing how the conductor lead the band and how disciplined other players were taught me the importance of leadership, accountability, and good teamwork.
Shoko, if people want to find out more about you and the work that you do, how might they be able to do that?
Our website is celticenglish.co.uk. We're quite active on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and I know we do have a TikTok too.
Oh, wonderful. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I think what I'm taking away is the importance of helping people to become a global citizen and to be able to appreciate diversity from different countries, different backgrounds, and also the hard work that it takes to create that environment for people to learn.
Yeah, it's a really great place, and being part of a global citizen is very rewarding.
Thank you so much for your time again, Shoko. It was lovely to speak to you.
Thank you very much, Sue.
Well, I hope you enjoyed what Shoko had to say. It made me think about how we encourage people to become global citizens. And remember that whilst this podcast is free to listen to, it's not free to make. And if you'd like to support us, then take a moment to click on the Buy Me a Coffee link on the show notes. And you can make a small donation, and then I can enjoy that coffee when producing the next episode. Your support really encourages us to continue producing quality audio content for our listeners. Next week, we're on our series finale, and my guest will be David Smith, who has competed internationally in rowing and cycling, and has overcome tremendous adversity, now living with a rare tumour and paralysis. I know you'll be inspired by his fighting spirit, and I hope you can join us then.